5 years ago, Illinois hired Lovie Smith to make a big splash. After 17 total wins in half a decade, it was more of a drip. But Lovie was never a great fit. After all, he was never a college head coach before. Bret Bielema was, averaging almost 10 wins a year in his time at Wisconsin. Dave caught up with a man trying to make big waves in the Big Ten yet again.
Pleased to be joined by Illinois head coach Bret Bielema. Coach, first of all, we all know the importance of going bowling in college football, but this seems to be taking it to new heights. Yeah. We have seen this facility now a couple of years. It's been online. Obviously, it's new to you, but you have emphasized family a lot with this program. How does a facility like this, a lounge like this, how does it help you build that?
You know, a great point, Dave. So during this, COVID world, we've done a lot of virtual tours, right? And we start off in the lobby, we start off in the weight room, training room, through the training table, and then we end up in the players' lounge here, and the culmination usually is taking them to this bowling alley, and usually the host of that tour usually does a rendition of their bowling, and usually it's not been a strike, I'll say that. But it does create, I think, when people see bowling, they think family, and it's not just something we preach, it's really what we are.
You're early on in practice here, so I know you can't draw any broad sweeping conclusions, but what have you learned about your team? This was the first all-padded practice. What have you learned to this point?
You know, Dave, this is practice 6, the first day that the NCAA allowed us to go full pads, and I think they liked it, right? It's the guys that were a little bit timid or a little bit concerned about being full pads that you realize you can't build around. But our guys came out with great energy, great attitude. Now this next 3 hours for recovery before we meet again is going to be absolutely crucial, not necessarily for the way we practice next week, but maybe in week 4, right, when we're getting ready to play against Maryland or whatever it is. The guys need to understand what we do today greatly affects not only tomorrow, but a month from now as well.
Let's get into some personnel a little bit. And when we talked in Indy, I asked you a little bit about the super seniors you have, which is really a staggering number. How many guys bought into this program and wanted to stay and be a part of it when obviously they could have gone anywhere. How has that allowed you to hit the ground running?
They've been there, done that. And for the most part, these guys are hungry for success. They had, a couple bowl games during their career, but nothing that is something that they wanted to walk away from just yet. They wanted to come back and take this program to a higher level. I think the buy-in from them has been pretty impressive. And then that affected this group of normal seniors, right? These guys that normally would be the only senior class, now they get one more year with it. They realize it gives them a better chance to win. And now you have all of these underclassmen that are looking at over 40 seniors that have been there and walk the walk that they've been going through right now. And day like today, tough, mental, physical, draining. This is an important day to give them leadership.
Fighting Illini have really struggled on the defensive side of the ball in recent seasons. Despite having Lovie Smith at the helm, Illinois ranked near the bottom of the FBS in several key categories the last 5 seasons. So, how do they turn things around? Jerry DiNardo is with the new defensive coordinator, Ryan Walters.
Coach, you're putting in a new scheme. How much of the scheme can you put in if you look at it, what it's going to look like maybe 2 or 3 years down the road?
It's all depends on what the players can retain. We're kind of installing as they go. When you get to a practice and you have a lot of mental errors, it's time to slow down. We've been able to sort of push through so far. A lot of carryover from the springtime through these first 5-6 practices. So I've been happy with where we're at. We still got a lot to put in, a lot of situational calls to put in. But first, second down, we're pretty multiple right now, and I'm pleased with where we're at.
How does the game plan change for the first game as opposed to once you're in the middle of the season?
First game's always tough. I know Nebraska's got their offense coordinator back. Obviously, Scott Frost has been there for a while now, and he's got a track record of running the same style of offense. But still first game, so you're going to see new wrinkles. You're going to see new offensive trends throughout the season. So that first game, it's hard to tell what you're going to get. But, I think our guys will be prepared for it. We've stressed the fact that we got to be able to adjust in-game to things we haven't seen yet and be able to communicate on the sidelines to make those adjustments.
Say this, though. The orange and blue won't be short on experience in Bret Bielema's first season in charge. 9 returning players were all Big Ten last year. That's tied for second most in the West Division behind Iowa's 14. Dave Revson and Joshua Perry have more observations from Champaign.
Joshua, great chance to really get a sense of what year one under Bret Bielema is going to be like at Illinois. What stood out as we spent some time with this program over the last day?
I think the first thing that stands out to me is the idea of a player-led team. I watched the team kind of go through meetings, and all the guys are really engaged. They had their notebooks out, but when they stepped on the football field, you can really see where that player leadership came through, where players off to the sideline. We're pulling players aside and telling them things they could do better, things to think about, how to get better for the next rep. And when you look at football teams, when nobody leads, that's a really bad team. When the coach is the leader, that's a good team. But when you have a player-led team, that's when you can start to reach greatness. Now, obviously, there are a lot of factors that go into the outcomes on the field, but just from a starting point, this player leadership is a really good thing.
And we've talked about it a lot. It's one of the themes that runs through this program, how many veteran players there are. There are 10 four-year letter winners back on this team. So players have already lettered 4 times and will presumably get a 5th this year. And some pretty good players. I mean, they have 9 players who got all conference mention last year. That's the second most returning in the West Division. So you turn to, okay, it's a veteran team and it's a player-led team, but can it be a good team? I think one of the first questions is quarterback. What did you see from Brandon Peters and from Art Sitkowski?
Yeah, Brandon Peters, I think, does some really natural things well. Like, he threw a pass that was on the far hash. It was one of those out-breaking routes. It's the toughest ball in college football, and he put it right on the money. And there are a lot of quarterbacks who are really good that can't make that throw, and so those things stand out to you. I think what it comes down to for him is the consistency of things, and that's where he's trying to really level up his game. Art Sitkowski is a guy that we have seen in the Big Ten, has done a really good job, went out there, again, had a day where you have to look for consistency. So for that group specifically, I think they have multiple players that can play Big Ten football. They just have to be consistent all the time.
Defensively, this was a team that struggled to stop the run last year and gave up the highest completion percentage in Power 5. So there's clearly a lot of room for improvement. What did you see on that side of the ball?
Yeah, you see a lot of ball disruption. The drills that they're doing, making sure that they can go after the football, whether that's knocking out a fumble or getting an interception, which is big. You see the scheme change, which a lot of teams are, they're running the 4-down linemen and they're putting extra defensive backs, but their base sets, they're doing it with a 3 defensive linemen, kind of 2 outside linebackers, and then filling in from there. I think it's really aggressive. But one of the things that truly stands out when you look at this defense is the level of communication. I think that's what they want to be great. So for them, again, it's going to be a building process, but they've got the foundation set.
We will know soon enough, get a chance to see them in a big conference game. Week 0 against the Huskers.
We're pleased to be joined with Brandon Peters. Today was your first full day of practice as far as full pads are concerned. How do you think it went?
I think it went well. On offense, we ran the ball well. And we did our job today as a quarterback standpoint. From TP standpoint and Coach B, early down turnovers are huge, and we can't have those. And in order to be successful on Saturdays, we need to, eliminate those.
Is that the emphasis that's been going on during camp?
Yeah, ball security is huge. That should always be an emphasis as an offense. But on early downs, you really want to protect the ball, give yourself a chance on that drive.
You mentioned being able to protect the ball and being able to run and being physical.
Yeah.
How is it to have some veteran guys that played a lot of football around here up front leading this team?
Yeah, and with Doug, he's a great center. He's seen a lot of football. And that really helps when it comes to the protection standpoint. When you get up there as a quarterback, it takes a little bit of pressure off you to see everything at that instant moment. And having Doug, and he's seen a lot of football, so having that it's huge. And also Vidarian on my blind side. He's a great player. I know he's going to give me effort on every single play. So, that's really big to have that.
A lot of talent in the running back room.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that can help you. Let's talk about those guys for a little bit.
Yeah, Chase Brown, he really emerged last year. He's a great player. He's explosive. He runs the ball hard. He hits the holes. I'm really excited to see what Reggie Love does as well. He had a great spring ball. He's having a great camp so far. He just needs to keep learning and picking up on things. But those guys are doing really well. And also Chase Hayden, who joined us in the spring, he's doing well. He's picking up the offense. He also runs the ball hard. And like someone said last night, he can squat at 600 pounds. So he's a bulldozer for us.
Isaiah Williams went from being in the room with you to now being a wide receiver. How's that transition been for him, and what do you think he'll be able to bring to the table?
Yeah, Isaiah is a great kid. And the thing I love about Isaiah is coming from quarterback to receiver, he's not afraid to, have open-minded ideas about playing receiver. He's always ready to listen. He's always ready to work. Coming from the quarterback position, you could think everything, but not Isaiah. He's always coming up to me. He's like, hey, what do I need to do here? What do I need to do on this route? And that communication is huge because when I drop back and I have trust in him and he has trust in me to put that ball right there, it's going to be big.
What are some of the things that you wanted to work on getting prepared for this camp and obviously the season?
Yeah. One of the biggest things is always footwork and timing. The summer is huge for that with the receivers, getting the timing down. Working 2, 3, maybe 4 times a week to get that timing. Just getting comfortable on that level because we have added some new guys. Casey wasn't here with us in the spring. Isaiah, of course, moving to receiver. So that's always huge. And also just my knowledge of the game. TP, like I was talking about protections earlier, as a quarterback, you always need to know what you got in protection so you can protect yourself and protect the football.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great year.
Thank you.
Pleased to be joined by standout defensive back Tony Adams. Let's start with this. You got a new coach coming in. Obviously, things have changed around here. How have your players responded in the offseason to Coach Bielema?
I think they responded well. I think everybody came in from the winter break, bought in, you know what I'm saying, because everybody wants to win. We got a lot of veteran guys here that just want to win. We haven't won in a long time. So I think everybody had that mindset. Let's buy in and listen to what he got to say.
And part of that change for you guys defensively was a little bit of a scheme change from a 4-3 to a 3-4. Yeah. What can fans expect to see out of the new defense?
Fans could expect to see a lot of guys doing a lot of different things. They can expect to see us playing physical, fast, communicating, things like that. All the other stuff, comes with the territory,
You talked about that communication. I thought it was pretty big. We went outside for the early period of practice and saw you all just taking kind of a one-step walk through some of the meetings you've been talking about, some football IQ things. How has that enhanced what your team's going to be able to do on the field?
Everything is about the details, the small details. And I think it came from a lack of we was inexperienced and a lack of maturity. But a lot of guys are older now, and we understand that these little details we need to work on. And Coach B preaches it all the time. So those periods are very good for us.
One of the other things that really stood out during practice is kind of watching the older guys, which you have a very veteran team, coaching up some of the younger guys. It seems like a player-led team. Can you speak a little bit to that leadership you all possess?
You have to. I know when we came in, the culture was it wasn't set. It wasn't a foundation, you know what I'm saying? Us veteran guys, us fifth-year guys, you know what I'm saying? This is our last year, and we want to see this thing continue after we leave. It just doesn't stop here. So we want to push those young guys to get ready because one day they will be thrown into the fire.
Definitely, and I'll get you out of here on this one. You've got a Week 0 matchup, obviously a conference opponent in Nebraska. What has the point of emphasis been just in terms of being ready for a quick start to the season?
Just staying focused and staying ready. Like you said, Nebraska's a great team. They're going to come out here firing their bullets, and we got bullets too. So expect to see a great matchup.
Absolutely love to hear it. Thanks, Tony, for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.